This is part of the 2,000-mile-long U.S.-Mexico border. On the other side of this fence, more than 29,000 people, including 200 Americans, have been murdered since December 2006. I'm Oliver North. This is War Stories, coming to you from New Mexico. Our southern neighbors live in a bloodbath created by drug cartels battling to dominate smuggling routes into the U.S. Beheadings and murders are daily grim realities. And it's happening just a few feet from where I'm standing. Is this our nation's third front? Tonight, you'll meet American citizens who say they're under siege. You'll hear the harrowing story of a journalist kidnapped and tortured by a brutal drug lord. And we'll take you to parts of our country that are so dangerous, they're off limits to you and me. Local, state, and federal authorities are struggling to keep this carnage from washing over America. But has it already? We went to our border states to find out.
My great-grandparents homesteaded here in 1896.
John Ladd is a fourth-generation rancher in Cochise County, Arizona. Your ranch abuts the border itself.
Right. Our southern border is 10.5 miles with Mexico.
Today, a stretch of steel separates his bucolic 14,000-acre ranch from the bloodshed next door. Arizona borders Mexico for 378 miles. About 300 miles are fenced. John Ladd says that's not enough.
This ranch is being invaded.
Look at these incredible images. They're from cameras hidden on Ladd's ranch, capturing the illegal traffic flooding across our border, including human mules carrying contraband. Nearly half those who enter the U.S. illegally come through the Grand Canyon state. How many people have crossed this property?
Well, I don't know how many have crossed, but my estimate is there's been 500,000 caught in 18 years.
How have things changed?
The caliber of people coming they're criminals.
When I first moved here, the volume of traffic that came up through here was far greater than it is right today, but it was almost all people going north looking for jobs.
Ed Ashurst is another native Arizona cowboy. He lives 23 miles north of John Ladd's ranch.
And now it's outlaws with guns. My home has been burglarized several times. We've had vehicles stolen.
You leave here without a firearm?
No, I always have a gun, and my wife packs a gun, and you got to, especially since Rob Krent's death.
58-year-old Rob Krentz was a fellow rancher, a beloved member of the community in this corner of Arizona.
If you needed to borrow a tool, you went to Rob. If you needed some help branding some calves, you went to Rob.
Early morning, March 17, 2010, Rob Krentz went out to check his fences and water lines.
About 10, he radioed his brother that he saw an illegal alien and asked his brother to phone the Border Patrol, and that's the last they ever heard from him.
14 hours later, his body was found, shot multiple times. Cochise County Sheriff Larry Deaver has no doubt who is responsible for Krentz's murder.
This was a smuggler. The evidence that we do have supports that this individual came out of Mexico. He was going back to Mexico. He's involved in the smuggling business.
We actually are under siege here, and we are actually being invaded and terrorized by outlaws from Mexico.
You don't look to me like a man who scares easy.
I don't.
But you're concerned.
I am. I really am. We've been abandoned down here. The cartel controls everything on this border.
El Paso, Texas is almost 200 miles east of Cochise County, Arizona. The city of 650,000 is ranked safest in the U.S., but just a stone's throw away.
That's Mexico right over here.
The most dangerous city in North America, Ciudad Juarez.
Amazing how close we are now.
This veteran detective of the El Paso Police Department has been on these front lines for 22 years. He works undercover with dangerous criminals and asks that we not show his face.
And just right over here where these individuals are standing right now, that's Juarez, Mexico. A lot of these individuals could be lookouts for the cartel.
7 mob-like crime syndicates, cartels, run the $20 to $50 billion narcotics trade in Mexico. Rival gangs have murdered thousands as they fight to dominate smuggling routes into the heart of America, their biggest customer.
Cartels have been involved in a several-year battle now for control of Juarez, Mexico.
Across this short bridge from El Paso, Mexico's most wanted man, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, has pitted his Sinaloa Federation in battle against arch-rival Vicente Carrillo Fuentes, Comandante of the Juarez cartel. July 2010 saw the first car bomb, a weapon more typical of places like Iraq or Afghanistan. And to date, over 7,000 people, including some 20 Americans, have been killed in Juarez, earning it the deadly nickname, murder capital of the world.
I mean, they kill one another at the drop of a hat.
At least 8 Mexican bullets have whizzed across the border into El Paso.
We had an incident where our city hall was hit by a couple of stray rounds. It was reported that the University of Texas at El Paso had a stray round hit the campus. The shooting happened over here on my right-hand side, and it's less than a mile from the point of the shooting to where the suspected round ended up.
The fact that we can't get spilled over is a definite concern.
In San Diego, we're experiencing cartel-type violence, kidnapping for ransom, robberies, extortion, and murders.
Mark Amador, a seasoned San Diego prosecutor, says this is a different kind of fight.
This isn't just the war on drugs. This is the violence that the cartels have created in Mexico, moving north into cities in the United States.
Often that violence is cartel versus cartel. The Mexican kidnap and murder ring known as Los Paillos is a gruesome example. Driven out of Mexico after their leader, aka the Toothpick, was gunned down by his former employers, the Tijuana cartel, the Paillos took root in San Diego, California. As lead investigator for the district attorney's office, Marco Mercado learned these seemingly innocent people were capable of unspeakable evil.
Suffocation was a big thing. Only one of their victims was shot. Everybody else was beaten to death, tortured, strangled.
Prosecutors say Los Paillos embarked on a 3-year rampage against Tijuana cartel members to avenge the death of their leader, the Toothpick, leaving behind a trail of 9 bodies.
We're making our way to 6549 Garber Avenue.
Investigator Mercado took war stories to one of the 5 alleged California death houses.
3 murders took place at this residence. Their bodies were dissolved in acid here at the residence, cooked for approximately 30 hours, and the barrels were eventually sealed and transported into another location in South San Diego.
Finally, after a 2-year investigation,
the San Diego District Attorney's Office indicted 17 individuals. 9 individuals are currently being prosecuted. 2 have been apprehended in Mexico and are being extradited. There are other individuals who still remain at large.
Coming up, undercover DEA agents on a mission to hunt down cartel scouts operating on this side of the border. You don't want to miss it. The Drug Enforcement Administration is the tip of the spear in the global war against narco-trafficking.
The Mexican cartels are pure evil, and that's what we're fighting against every day.
In Phoenix, DEA's special agent in charge, Beth Kemshaw, has the mission of stopping drugs flowing into Arizona from Mexico. To date, over 500 tons of marijuana, potentially worth $800 million, have been seized in the Grand Canyon state.
Marijuana is their revenue-generating crop because they need the proceeds to be able to buy the weapons to combat their competitors, and so that they can bring in the other drugs such as heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine.
DEA has the daunting task of dismantling criminal organizations operating on both sides of the border. DEA's best asset? Intelligence.
We receive that nugget of information, and it points us in the direction of the most significant targets. And we go after those targets and develop a case.
This line, this is the border. Is that the goal line?
No, it's the 50-yard line. It's important that we make our investigations reach down into Mexico so that we can go after the cartel leaders before the drugs get to the border.
You're literally on what could be the next front in a war.
We're making it more difficult for them to bring their drugs through the deserts of Arizona.
This is Arizona's Sonora Desert. The beauty of this vast and desolate landscape belies the lurking danger.
The drug trafficking organizations will take scouts and they'll strategically place them throughout the desert as lookouts.
Assistant Special Agent in Charge Al Larita has been with the DEA for 21 years, but today's mission was his first as the head of the Tucson District Office.
I expect to find and capture a lookout or two.
On a blistering afternoon, war stories accompanied his strike force of DEA agents, whose identities cannot be revealed as they set out to hunt down cartel scouts.
You guys ready?
Ready.
Ready to go?
They split into two teams.
The target ridge is the ridge far back up there. That's where they camp, that's where they cook.
Cartel surveillance teams are entrenched in inhospitable terrain like this, some 15 miles from the border.
There's probably 200 or 300 scouts working in this region. Sometimes we get the feeling being out here that it's foreign occupied territory.
Their job is to direct the flow of drugs coming north. As frontline traffic controllers, the scouts relay location reports on U.S. law enforcement units to cartel bosses south of the border.
What they'll do to power their communications equipment, they'll use car batteries to do that, or solar panels.
After an hour-long hike up the 1,000-foot ridge,
Hey boss, come up here.
Got another den up there?
Yeah.
DEA hit the jackpot and radioed agents on the other side of the crest.
Yeah, we got a backpack and a cave here.
Filled with water jugs, we got car batteries, we got everything.
All right, 10-4. We got more clothes right here.
You guys keep a lookout up that way.